Moon, Blake Cousins, taking your calls live from around the world. The world's largest YouTube channel in regard to the UFO channel, Third Phase of Moon, is a place to report your UFO sightings. Share your story. Share it with us. Share it with the world. Right now, the number to call in is 347-934-0378. We got a special guest tonight, though. Big time. We've had a lot of people that have captured footage from this area, but it's the first time we've ever had a guest that's worked there, Area 51. We got Max Steele on the line. Before we get to him, we're going to ask the public if they want to ask Max Steele the big questions of what he did while he was working in Area 51. Now's the time. We're going to invite Max Steele on the line and ask him some questions in regards to how he got the job. Let's get to Max Steele right now. There's a little bit of breakup. Max, you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Max. Hey, thanks for joining us right here at Third Phase. I know you've reached out. You wanted to tell your story. We've heard about you in the past. Wow, it's an honor to meet somebody that's actually worked in the secret base known as Area 51, but not so secret now. The president has finally acknowledged that it does exist. Tell me, what did you feel like when you first walked into Area 51? Did you know what was going down when you arrived there?
I didn't know where I was heading at the time. I was driving a tractor trailer. I had left Rice-Patterson Air Force Base. We would drive mostly in the middle of the night when everybody's asleep. And as we got closer and closer, we would go into different bases and spend the rest of the day, and then finally we leave at night again. When I first saw Nevada, the state of Nevada popping up, I wasn't sure where I was heading because I had an escort in front and rear, and I did have a helicopter over us, escorting us too. And as we were getting closer, I asked the passenger soldier that was with me, and I asked him, where are we heading? He said, you can't tell you until we get there. Finally, when we finally arrived into the desert, I knew I was in. I've heard of it, but I really didn't know too much about it. But finally, the guard says that was with me said, "Listen, turn right here and follow for the next 3 miles." And I would drive into that for the next 3 miles. And as soon as we got to there was these cameras on the side of the desert there near the cactus and rocks and stuff like that. He told me to stop there. So I did stop, and the truck was being X-rated from underneath. And we had 3 points that we had to do that. And finally, we went into some gates, and there was a guard there. He knew that he knew exactly that we were going to show up at the right moment. So he said, turn this way for another 3 miles, and you will enter the Area 51 area. He didn't express it that way, but that's the way I'm expressing it. As soon as we got into the area, I saw a lot of buildings and a lot of different. Saw this long landing strip, really large, and then finally we went into a side of a mountain where he says, "Where are we heading that way?" He says, "Just keep going. As soon as you see the yellow line on the pavement, you'll see it very clear." Well, within 25 feet of that yellow line, there was nothing. I couldn't see anything. It was just, and as soon as I come up to the line and I crossed it, I saw a big, large opening in the wall, and they instructed me to go down that way. So that's what I did. I drove the tractor trailer down approximately about a mile, half a mile to a mile. And then I went into this elevator where the whole tractor trailer was. And I went down 2 stories, 2 levels. I backed up the truck, and they asked me to get out of the truck, and I was put into an electric vehicle, and they took me to the actual part of Area 51. And then I asked her how long I'm going to be here. He says, you may be here anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, could be longer. It all depends. And so I was taken to an area where there was a lot of people there waiting to go into different directions of Area 51. And I was given a pass. And when I got there and they gave me the pass, they took my fingerprints, took a picture of my eye, retina, and then they put my name on that card, and I was supposed to keep it at all times. So I was only designated to be in a certain area with that pass. And then after that, I went to, they got a group of us, and they took us to the cafeteria where we went there and had, well, at the time that I arrived, it was actually early in the morning, so I went to have breakfast. And then I had to go to debriefing. I didn't know why I had to go debriefing. And finally I went to this big, large conference room, and there was like probably about 25 of us in there. And they separated us by the Social Security. I don't know why. They did separate us, and then they issued me a room, it's not barracks, because barracks above ground. It's just a room that I was supposed to stay in there while I was waiting for orders. So I went down there. Actually, it was level 12. I went to level 12, and that's the. I went from. I was not allowed to go to different levels. I was only allowed to go to level 12, and that's it. You put the card in the front of the elevator, and then you go down to the level that you're instructed to in your card, your ID card. So, on purpose, when I put in the card in and went inside the elevator, on purpose I pushed a couple of levels that I wanted to. Didn't work. It wouldn't work at all. It was just instructed to me to go to level 12. So I went in there, and a couple of days later that I was in there, they flew me to Rice-Patterson Air Force Base again, and I picked up another load. Now, I'm going to accelerate a little bit my message, my experience. On the third trip of going there, I had a little bit better classified, because I was hauling secret cargo, which it could have. I only saw one of them. All the others were very well covered, and I drove some of the times close-in trailers. And when the third trip was it was a flatbed with a large cover over it, and we had stopped in this base, which it was guarded, but not as much guarded as when I carrying this cargo, and I was able to look in underneath the tarp, and I did see a craft in there. So I knew it was hauling a craft. Finally, I arrived to Area 51 again, and finally.
Let me get a question. And you're saying that you were hauling a craft of some sort?
Yes, I was hauling a craft. The craft was the trailer that I was that I was hauling. At the time, it was 50 foot long, and this craft was probably 75% length of the trailer. So we're talking that the craft was probably about 30 feet long by because it was a wide load, so it was about 20 feet wide. And the
was
and
it
the
exposed or was it covered Was it partially covered? And did you were you kind of looking and wondering what this thing was? Was it military made, extraterrestrial? What was your thoughts at the time?
Okay, all right. Now, one of the straps that held the tarp came loose to the very front because we ran into some area where we had a lot of wind hitting us from the front of the truck, and a couple straps came loose. And while we stopped at this base, I'm not allowed to say it, but anyway, I can't tell you that one. So I went out and I saw the straps come loose, and I saw the shape of it. It looked exactly like a walnut, but the front of it was round off in the very front, round off, and it's got a little point on it, but it was more like round off. Okay. The guards came around. Hey, what are you doing? He says, no, I'm strapping it down. It came loose. He said, okay, I'll help you with it. So he helped me. I strapped it, and we finally headed back to Area 51. We got there. We didn't unload that in Area 51. I drove it down to S4. That craft, I took it to S4. And the colonel that was in charge of the base of Area 51 happened to be there, and one of the MPs that were there, the security said, "You can't be here." But the colonel said, "No, he can stay." I don't know why he did that, but he told me that I would do that, that I could stay. So they removed the tarp. And they grabbed as soon as the tarp came off, the craft levitated probably about a foot from the stand that was sitting on. And then they put these straps around it. I don't know if you've ever seen, well, I'm sure you have it. You go where they have boat yards where they pick up boats from the water and load it up into a big crane. That's the way they did that. And they brought it into one of the doors. I remember it was door 7. And they put some straps around it, and they put it into that giant-sized room, and they forced with the straps, these net they had around it, forced it to sit on the stand, and then they wrapped it around so it wouldn't move. And I saw everything. I saw a lot of things in there, too. And then... what did you see? Well, I saw other craft in there. You know, I saw very different types of craft. I saw one that was actually looked like it was a triangle, but it had these wings that went up a little bit. Probably like the new planes have these angles on the end of the tip of the wings that go up. That ship had that thing too. It was triangle. It wasn't very big. It was approximately probably about 50 foot in wingspan. Now the back end of the angle was probably a good 20 feet, like a triangle shape in the back. Okay. Now, I did see some symbols on it, and I looked at them. And at the moment, I couldn't figure what the symbols meant. But as time went by, I kept thinking about the symbol, and finally the symbols I recognized. And the symbols said, I'm trying to remember, okay? It was from Earth's future. It was a symbol, but it was Earth's future. It came from the year it was 2357. That's the year that that the symbol said that the ship was from that year, 2357. Okay. Now, what else you want me to go into? Because I do have a lot of information. Especially,
absolutely. You know, Max, still, we only got about 15 minutes left on this show, and I know we're just at the tip of the iceberg. And we'll probably ask you to come back to talk about a little bit more what's going on. But, hey, Max, let me ask you this. What do you want to tell Third Phase of Moon viewers right now? I think that's the most important. What was your most, the most controversial experience you had in Area 51, something that nobody's ever heard before? I know we got a few minutes left. Go ahead, Max.
Okay, I'll try to put it in 15 minutes. Okay, the first one of the nights that I was in my room, there was an extraterrestrial entity that was trying to communicate with telepathic. I kept hearing voices in my head like for 3 nights in a row, and finally I gave up and listened to it. And it was actually I couldn't tell what at the moment what type of race it was, or if it was a female or a male. But finally I found out it was a female, and I wanted to talk to me. And I asked her, what level are you in? She said, I'm in level 29. She said, 29? And then I says, well, I can't get out of the room because the room are locked in. So finally she did something to the monitors and because they monitor your vital signs in that room when you're in there, and it does it with that card they give you. I found out later. But finally, the doors opened up. I went down to the elevator. I stuck my card, but it didn't work. But all of a sudden, the elevator opened up. So I went down to about 20, 21, 22 levels, and these 2 scientists walked in. And then they didn't see me. I was sitting in the back of the elevator. Finally, they got out another level, and then I went straight down to 29. When the doors opened up, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I saw these vines with these small capsules, and what was in those capsules were grays. Thousands and thousands of grays in these vines. They look like grapevines. And, I couldn't believe it. I tried to figure out what it was. I even came within 5 feet of one of them and looked at it, and there were these little gray extraterrestrials living in those things. They were real little. What they were doing, they were reproducing. That's how they are born, Finally, the entity called me on telepathic, told me to turn right, go down the walls were not metal like it was where I was in my room. It was more like a cave, and I don't like being in cave. But anyway, I felt secure, so I went down and then turned left and turned right and then turned left again, and I walked into this room, and there was that extraterrestrial female. She had a big head, very little, about 3 or 4 strings of hair from the top. And then her face was big, like a light bulb, but it was smaller. And she had a nose and a mouth, and she had her eyes were not like the Greys; they were more like human. And she started to talk to me and ask me all kinds of questions about how the man and the female reproduce. Asked me a whole bunch of questions about women and about how the women on Earth reproduce, everything. I didn't have too much time. I think I had maybe like 30 minutes to explain to her. Finally, I finished, went back to the elevator, went back up, went back in the room, okay, And then the next day, my commander says, where were you last night? I said, in my room. And he asked, why are you asking me that? Because there's a loss of time, and we have no video for 35 minutes. They asked me that. So I don't know, maybe a malfunction. Well, anyway, I was sent in the morning. I was escorted to level 10, where they do all kinds of mind control things, and they had all kinds of machines I've never seen before. And they put it in my head to figure out, and they couldn't find exactly what happened in that room. But finally, I was taken out of there, and the commander said, you better be telling us the truth. He says, if you can't figure out, how am I supposed to tell you? So, well, a couple of days went by, and the commander had sent an escort to my room, and I went to his office, and he asked me, I want to show you something, but it's not here. He says, okay. So I was escorted with the commander. We went to S4, where I took that last walnut-sized ship, and they took me to another bay, and I went in the bay with them, and they asked me, do you think you can open it? He said, why are you asking me if I can open these things? And so he said, you think you can open it? You think you can open it? He says, I could open it, maybe. I can try. Well, as soon as I got within 3 feet of the ship, it was round, circular. It was probably about 40 feet diameter. And finally, I looked around. The more closer I got to the ship, the more it started to stain the hairs in my body all over. It was like trying to communicate with me. And I kept asking telepathic, can I open you? Will you let me open you? And I didn't respond. So I went around the ship counterclockwise until I come back to the same spot that I was standing before. For some reason, I stand in that spot. I rose my left hand and put it on the bottom of the ship, and I felt this tingling underneath my left hand, and all of a sudden the door opened up from the bottom. And I backed up, and I couldn't believe that I actually did that. The commander says to me, Max, can you need to stay here. You can't go in. We got to let the scientists go in there. I says, no, you're not going to be able to go in. I'm going to go in first. And he said, no, you can't. He said, look, if you don't let me go in, I'm not going to do anything else here anymore. So he says, all right, go in. I went in, and I told the ship to close the door. The ship closed the door exactly like I told him, and the ship was talking to me, telepathic, telling me to put my hands on this panels there in front of me. And when I touched them, it was feeding information through my hands, both of my hands, and telling me that everything about the ship, where it came from, what planet, what star system. It told me that ship was an explorer ship, and it could be that was flown by 2 entities. It told me everything, how everything worked in that ship. And then all of a sudden the symbols started to come off the top of the ceiling from left to right. No, I'm sorry, from right to left. It was from right to left, and it was all these symbols were coming up. And every time I concentrated on one, it kind of blew itself up and got bigger. And I said, I wonder why it did that. And then I stopped thinking about it, and it went back into its original place. And I looked down like 4 or 5 symbols, and I concentrated on one symbol, and the symbol popped out again. And I didn't know what was going on, so I started doing different things. And then I could hear voices from the outside saying, open the door, open the door. So I opened the door, and I had the ship open the door. The scientists come in, a couple of security come in, and I told them not to touch anything. And so the security went down the steps and went back out of the ship, and I stayed there with the scientists because they wanted me to translate what those symbols was. At the moment, I didn't know what they were, but as I stayed longer time inside that ship, the more I learned. I just didn't need to put my hands on the panel. It was already teaching me things, programming me with many things from the ship, where it's been, how many places it's gone, and different star system, different universe, and it just kept telling me things, different things.
Wow,
and,
Max, it's quite incredible, your story. It sounds like the military's using you as a test pilot. They had probably issues and kind of things that weren't quite working out. I know we had an interview with Sean David Morton in regards to some of these test pilots didn't even want to get into the ship, much less fly them because of, they didn't know what they were doing. We have Dr. J. Andy Elias, who just joined us and might want to get a question into Max Still. Dr. J, hey, thanks for joining us. We got a few minutes left.
Oh, yes, I actually thank you for having me on. I want to say what Max was saying is actually really on point when he said that the ship was speaking to him telepathically, because a lot of people people who have worked in reverse engineering, or a lot of people who have been on board craft, that the crafts themselves are just like the Greys, in fact that they're bio-robots, that they are operated by the mind. That's why you don't find levers on there, you don't find control panels. They're all operated telepathically. So that part really struck a chord, and that's what I wanted to say.
Absolutely, Dr. J. Max, tell me, was the military, the generals inside Area 51, and again, people might think this is some kind of fantastic story being made up. Max still reached out. His story seems genuine to me. His details seem to make a lot of sense from collaborators talking about the same thing from within Area 51 that have spoken about it. Max, tell me about the generals. How did it all go down? When did you actually leave Area 51? Did people tell you to be quiet about what you've seen over there?
Well, I did sign a contract. I signed a 75-year contract, and then I was told not to talk about it. But I was there from 74 to about almost to 77, when I didn't want no more part of it. And they wanted me to go into even deeper stuff, deeper ops and stuff like that. I did go to Langley, Virginia, which I didn't have time to talk about it, but I did go to Langley, Virginia, and met with the director of the CIA there, which he wanted to recruit me. And I refused to. I refused. He wanted to shake my hand, but I refused to shake his hand. That was George Bush Sr. when he was in the. Actually, that happened in 1976 when that happened.
Gotcha. Hey, you know what, Max? We got some callers in. I know what they want to get some questions to you. Let's go to a caller calling in, area code 619. Thanks for joining us. We got a few minutes. Any questions to Max Still, who worked in Area 51? Go ahead.
Hey, Blake Kelly from San Diego. I was just popping in listening to some of this, and that was one of my questions that he already answered. What time frame he was there? Another question I probably would like to see, because just like Dr. Elias was saying, that they are like a biomechanical, like the ship heard before is the ships are alive as well, and that's how you do control them. There is no flight controls or anything like that. It's all through the power of the mind. But my question would be, what type of material did it look like? What it felt like? what was maybe the interior of the spacecraft?
The craft was metallic inside. There were lights in there, but the lights didn't look like that came. The lights were very different. It was a type of illumination that changed with the vital signs of the pilot. Now I noticed because the ship was talking to me all the time and teaching me things that it told me that. Well, I asked a question. I asked him why these lights are acting this way. It says it's according to the vital signs of the pilot. But see, myself having a human body, it was reacting different, but not quite the way it would do with a human, because what I am and who I am. I can say that another time or another show. I can tell you more about that. But the metallic, it was metallic. When I touched the panel, I couldn't identify what it was, really. I even touched some of the side panels of Curious to see what kind of material it was. And it was like, it felt like a memory type of metal. And when I touched it, I could feel the ripples in it, but at the same time, when I put my fingers back, it straightened itself out. I can't explain what kind of metal it is. That's the best I can do.
You know, Max, still, let me get back to this encounter that you had. I think you said in level 29. I got two questions. How many levels down does Area 51 go down? And also, what were their plans with these thousands of alien grays that you saw down there being bred?
Well, actually, they're all the ones in level 29. 26 levels are as 24 levels to 26 of what the public knows about. But there are more levels. 29 levels is where these extraterrestrials would breed. But there are more levels below that. They got transportation down there that goes to every part of the United States underground. And eventually I was able to ride in one of those. And I wasn't flying anymore to Wright-Patterson. I was going underground by the magnetic trains they had down there. And I was taken that way a couple times. Okay.
Interesting. We've got Dr. J. He's got a question for you. Go ahead, Dr. J.
You know, the maglev trains that you're talking about, they're connected apparently to every major base, at least on the West Coast. You said you were actually going all the way to Wright-Patterson, so that infers that they are actually crisscrossing the entire United States. What other bases are they connected to?
They're connected to Denver. They're connected to many places. I actually, when I got off on one of the trains and got into Wright-Patterson, I saw the map on the wall, and it had more tunnels going east. And I did manage later on to find out that it did go all the way down to Washington, D.C.
Quite astonishing, major information that's come into Third Phase of the Moon. I know it's been a while since you've been to Area 51, and
yes,
things have changed up. Apparently, there's a new location for all the top secret reverse engineered alien aircraft going on. What do you got to say? Has anybody written you? What about you going public and all this information? Any repercussions from that, Max?
Well, yeah. I've been shot at. I've been my brake lines on my car had been cut off. That's about it. It's only a couple times. And
well, Max, it's been an incredible show. We're just about having to wrap it up, but we wanted to invite everybody to check out Hangar 52. We based it on information that you just listened to right now from people like Max and thousands of other sources from around the world that contact Third Phase Moon in regards to Area 51, reverse alien technology, the Roswell crash. You know it. It's out there. The government's not sharing. Dr. J, I know we have a special interview coming up with Linda Moulton Howell that you had an exclusive with. We're going to be sharing it at Third Phase Moon, some tidbits, and that's coming up. What's coming up on your show, Dr. J?
Actually, a lot. Congressman Merrill Cook from the Citizen Hearing with Stephen Bassett will be talking about disclosure next Thursday. John Anthony West on Tuesday, as well as Eric Von Doniken will be back, and David Streeta. So much more. Everyone can see it at drjradiolive.com. But like you just said, the Linda Moulton Howe interview that you're about to upload, everybody out there is going to be truly amazed. This woman is really on top of her game with keeping up with UFO news.
Thank you very much, Dr. J. Hey, you keep your eyes on the skies over there in L.A. We'll be keeping in touch.
Always.
All right, let's get Max Still. You know, we got a few couple minutes left. Any last statements to the skeptics saying that, hey, you know, you're just making this up? What do you got to say to those guys?
Well, until they experience something like that, they won't believe it. But fortunately, I was there when all this happened. And I have nothing to hide or anything. But you guys need to know the story, what the encounters I had with the men in black.
Well, you know what? We'll save that another time, Max. You know, the show's just about ready to end. But send us that link on your YouTube channel and some other interviews that we've heard. We're sure like to take a look at it. How do people watch you on your channel, Max?
Well, I'm in YouTube, Area 51 worker, Max Steele, Area 51 worker, or I'm on darkcityradio.com every Wednesday at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's when you can call me there. Or call me on Skype, CAPT Max Steele.
Absolutely, Max. Hey, thanks for sharing your stories right here. Do you mind if we take some of your interviews on your YouTube channel and share it right here on Third Phase of Moon?
That's not a problem.
Max, you take care of yourself, and we'll be keeping in touch and appreciate you joining us right here at Third Phase.
Okay, you're welcome.
Everybody, that was Max Still, a driver that just so happened to get a contract, ended up in Area 51, got access to the 29th sublevel of Area 51, saw a hybriding experiment, thousands of aliens, gray aliens, and then became a test pilot for Area 51. Wow, what an incredible story. More to come right here at Third Phase Moon. Everybody, again, take a look at Hangar 52, the movie. We're not alone. It's up on Third Phase Moon right now. We're up to the 4th episode. Episode 5 will be coming out next week. It's a thrill ride. If you like alien movies, you like Terminator, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Hangar 52, We're Not Alone is a movie for you. Everybody, hey, keep your eyes on the skies. You know, share your videos to the world right here at Third Phase. Blake Cousins. We'll see everybody again next time.